BDS to lose both games, which is unlikely. So a lot on the line for NaVi.
Well, you're talking about the top of the board. I am so much more worried about the bottom of the board. Team Empire, unfortunately, now flattened to the bottom of the board. And I'm going to stop myself really quickly there, Ace, because when was the last time we saw a Sledge ban? In fact, I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of my page here, go to the attacking bans, and I don't see it here at all. In fact, the only other soft breach like that that's been banned was Buck. Sledge has not been banned before inside of EUL, and that's a very interesting one for me. So, all right, I wonder what that's indicating here from NaVi.
Well, it looks like it could be a target ban towards Always. It is Always most picked attacker by a long, long way, and we've seen some huge performances out of Always. He combined for 29 kills with Scyther last play day, and then the play day before, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 25 or 27 kills between him and Dan. So Always is absolutely flying at the minute, and that is a direct response to that.
Well, there you go. If you're comfortable going up against every other attacking ban, and you pretty much know what Empire is going to ban on the attack 9 times out of 10. I mean, it is their most played map here in Stage 1. Clubhouse is the map that Team Empire should know through and through. And I was looking through the compositions and going over the operators and going, okay, what are they going to ban? What are they going to get rid of? Sometimes Team Empire will get rid of a Hibana. Sometimes they'll get rid of a Thatcher. Today, we're going to see a Maverick removed. And I think that taking a little bit of the step out of the usual box for Empire, going out into the unknown, Ace, is a really good thing from them because they used to be so predictable. Teams used to know everything they were going to do. I think we'll still see that in their strategy, but it's kind of nice that they've gone away from the fray.
I'm just looking back over the season at times where Always hasn't played on Sledge. If we look back to play day 3 against Vitality, he picked up 8 kills playing as Ash throughout that game. So certainly some ability outside of Sledge, but it will definitely be taking him outside of his comfort zone. Now, round number 1, we are going to be heading into the CCTV cache. I think we're on here. We're going to be looking upstairs. We certainly are, and fairly standard so far, Jess.
I mean, the only thing that's quite different to what we usually get is this mirror from Nath here. And the reason I like mirrors on this particular site is the red one's an easy one because by the time you pop it, that probably means that you're either top halfway up red, which is a very dangerous position to be in, or you're in. There's only 2 ways about it. It'd be interesting to see where he puts the second. Some people will put a soft mirror on that wall that he's shotgunning now, but he'll pop it on the double wall. And the reason I like this as well is it allows the bandit tricker to bandit trick unimpeded, doesn't have to use sound, can completely use sight, and that's why they're early chucking on those Hibanas. Oh, Blur, have you come to this one too late, buddy? No, he hasn't. He is so lucky that it wasn't centered. Otherwise, he would not have caught that one off, and ooh, that was a close one in an early little bout here for that wall.
Blur showing that he's nice and awake at the beginning of the round there. He's certainly not waiting for any alarm clock to bring him into this one. The Hibana pellets were exactly that, but managed to get them tricked off. So for the time being, the mirror window on the East Breach will stay in place. And I always like to see these little adaptations, these little things that we don't see very often, and that is certainly one of them. It's not something we've seen this season so far. Now, we've got Doki just roaming around underneath, around that lounge and blue stairs area on the Mozzie, and he's trying to keep that area safe. He's trying to keep Blur active and allow him to continue bandit tricking by not letting those attackers get in there, particularly Always on the Bucks, either on the Ash, to get in underneath and start challenging that bandit vertically.
I did expect if Always didn't have that Sledge, now that it's been banned, that he will take the other soft breach, which was Buck. Does that impede him? Probably not. Both are quite good weapons. I don't think whether or not that he had the nades or not might have changed things. However, we will get our opening death here, and Scyther going down to who else other than Blur. Really good kills and a really good cross angle from Dan. He had 6 picked off the Thatcher onto the Dokkaebi, so they weren't aware that he'd be bringing some of those logic bombs. One's already been popped out, and that was earlier on in the round, and it didn't really net anything, but 1 for 1 is a pretty good trade. That's a C4 out of the hands of NaVi as well. So I think actually here Empire has a little bit of the leg up, But we'll see how time goes because they didn't open up platform wall, Ace. I'm worried. A bit of a one-dimensional push by the looks of it.
4 versus 4. We can see we've got 2 from NaVi. Saves and secretly locked into that garage catwalk. And as you say, this is all progressing towards a construction push from Empire. Always has got himself established underneath. Now he's able to open up some vertical angles. I think Doki's actually rotated back to site, so that should leave him safe from being hassled by the roamer. But right now, 30 seconds left to go. Always is on the wrong side of the map to say that there is no breach on that east wall, nor is there likely to be without any hard breach operators moving over there. The push is coming here completely from the construction side, and that leaves Always basically out of the running for the next 20 seconds whilst he gets over to that side of the map. Now, secretly will collect saves. Now, can Always make any inroads here into garage? He certainly can. Finds one, but shut down as a flurry of codes coming for NaVi. 3 in a row, and that's going to leave them taking round 1. Ultimately, I think just too one-sided there.
I think when you have really good crossfire set up and around and you commit to being able to hold them, that is something that you're going to be confident in, especially when a team has to therefore commit to a one-dimensional push. Team Empire, they saw the mirror on the wall. They knew there was no opportunity for them to push it unless they went below, and Always was the only one pushing that verticality inside of stock. Really, if you're going to make it a solo mission, it's going to end up in your death 9 times out of 10. So they didn't commit to that. They committed to the bedroom push instead. They got the wall open, Ace. I mean, I thought they might struggle with Blur sort of, standing with the grenades banned on the side of Sledge, but they ended up getting it open. My problem now is, does Empire take this as a lesson to bring the Thatcher, to start bringing that dual harborage to deal with those walls this way? Or do they work out another little plan here? Because with the Warden in play, I'm wondering whether Navi's looked back at the VODs and gone, hang on, when they bring the Ace, they're always popping the smokes. We bring the Warden, we can counter it. And Ace...
One way or another, he has to get on the stream, doesn't he?
Thank you. Like, I'm trying to avoid him by asking production to let me cast with you so I don't have to hear his voice. And then they put a tweet from the man himself on the screen. I can't escape him.
You don't have to hear his voice, but you got to see his face, Jess. And I'm not sure which one is worse.
We're just ragging on him at every opportunity, aren't we?
Des is good for it, don't worry. He gives plenty back. If anybody's feeling sorry for him, don't too much. He certainly does his work in behind the scenes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Round number 2 then. We are heading into Church and Arsenal this time around for NaVi's second defence. Able to win out in CCTV and cash, which is something that a lot of teams haven't been able to do this stage. So good early work from them. They'll be heading down to a site that they will probably feel a little bit more comfortable and confident on, I would expect, down in Church and Arsenal. If we have a look, they had a 100% defensive win rate down here in their game against Rogue. But to be fair, they had a 100% win rate in most places. It was only one round that they lost, and that was in gym and bedroom. So I'm sure NaVi carrying confidence into this. As you say, saves interesting. He's one to watch on the Warden. He's just locked in blue at the minute. He's going to try to hold down that area. Empire need to be a little bit quicker about just focusing on multiple angles here for me.
Interesting that Dan's going to be the first one to sort of start jumping in and make this roam clear happen, because guess what? It's going to be Nath on the mute with the SMG-11 in hand to be roaming. He had multiple mute jammers, multiple reinforcements. He had multiple lines of sight for red over towards cash and beyond. I was wondering whether or not he just was baiting Team Empire, because we know Team Empire, if they see roamers, they will roam clear. They're not the type of team to just rush in on site. They're going to be the ones that are methodical, chase those roamers. Trouble is, they chase so slowly, it took them the entire half the round, Ace. Guess what? We're down to the 1.5 mark, and they have not been able to catch Nath out. He was able to rotate back to site safely, and only now are they starting to open up the hatches.
A lot of focus right now coming in from Team Empire onto those vertical angles. Shepard moves in and finally manages to get that kitchen hatch open. You can see there's a awareness amongst Team Empire there of any potential nitros from underneath. They're going to keep themselves up on the tables, up out of reach. There are 2 on the side of NaVi. Nath and saves with those in hand. Could be another potential thought process behind the Warden being brought along, but he's not playing in the kitchen area or underneath any of that destructible floor just yet, and I feel like that opportunity might be lost now, as a lot of the vertical angles have been opened up by Team Empire.
Well, Saves has got a C4, so does Nate, so there is possibility for them to just hide behind the boxes, especially that double box now. It never used to be there. That's a really good opportunity for defenders to hide behind it, especially if you have dirt control. By the looks of these silhouettes here, Ace, I believe there's not even a single person attacking secretly, and it will be Scyther to kick things off, but Blur again going to get the opening kill for NaVi. A 4v4, 20 seconds left here, and Diffuser is dropped deep inside Kitchen. Always will drop in. He won't have it in hand, but it will be that dirt player I was talking about, the infamous secretly on the smoke, and now it's only going to be Scyther who has been hitting his shots thus far, but for the most part with 5 seconds left here, Ace, it's a mountain, it's a molehill. He's got an SMG and a shotgun to go up against, and it will be secretly ripping his heads right off of his shoulders. And yet another round into the hands of NaVi, who are now sitting very pretty in second position, but are looking to take that first place right out of the hands of BDS.
Nice and easy for NaVi, to be fair there. All the pressure once again coming from a single location, Jess, and that is a problem that Empire need to figure out, and they need to resolve it soon, because otherwise they're going to lose round after round. 4 of them pushing the kitchen hatch. There was nothing to be found vertically, because as we saw, Blur and Saves just dipped themselves back out to box 2 and just stayed nice and safe away from those vertical angles until the moment came. Blur judged it perfectly, stepped in, and once again for NaVi. How many times have we said that this stage? Yep. Blur steps up and does the work. He delivers and gets himself a couple of kills at the perfect time, and Scyther was left in an impossible situation with 5 seconds left to go. So a good round from NaVi on the defense. They need to just absolutely lock this rotation down in gym and bedroom now.
Ooh, look at this, Ace. All right, I can see there's a little bit of tension on the side of Empire, and the reason I know is because round number 1 always took Buck. That's because he needs to take the soft breach. He's very aware of his role of usually taking the sledge, but he was target banned. Goes to the second round. Okay, things aren't feeling right. No one's got nades in hands. Things are not working for Empire and for Always specifically. And so now we look at it, and he brought the Zofia. He wasn't feeling it. Now he's going to bring the Yana, and he took quite a long time in his 6th pick to decide that. So it makes me think that he is trying to go back to that nade operator that has been banned out, but he's not sure which one to take, and so he did settle on it, but I'm not sure he's that comfortable with it.
It could be a very clever target ban, because they've removed multiple aspects there, as you said, that cannot be combined into one operator, and that is the soft breach function, but also the nades as well. So as you say, Always just bouncing about at the minute, and takes a soft breach, doesn't work for him, brings the nades this time around. Will it work? We've got a push coming in from Empire from the silhouettes. We can see that they're pushing onto that east wall once again. Dorky's going to keep himself locked in at the top of red stairs. He's got Jaeger ADS, he's got the utility that he needs to remain in place, and Joystick meanwhile will get the east breach opened up reasonably easily. There's no real resistance coming in there, and I wouldn't expect too much more than a mute jammer just having been placed on that wall. So right now, that is a good first step for Team Empire. That is control over CCTV, and they can start working in to challenge Dorky at the top of red stairs. They can start to put some pressure onto Secretly. But another important thing is it potentially, interesting, they're going to try and force Secretly out, and that's exactly what happens with a nice Selma through there. No ADS in CCTV, and that allows that to happen.
I mean, where's the mute jammer? I didn't see the EMP come out, so I wasn't entirely sure that they might have just left that wall unimpeded overall. Okay, fair enough. They wasted just under half the round, and they've still got that mirror window to default behind over in stock. That can be dealt with from the hatch. We've seen teams work around it by throwing nades down, toss it out, maybe get some of those X-Kairos on that mirror window at some point. It just seemed interesting to me there was no mute jammer there, but nevertheless, they have the control they need. One-dimensional again for the moment. I would like to see them rotate some of that hard breach. They've got 2 whole operators here that they can do that with. Get open that jacuzzi wall as well, boys. You've got Thatcher to work with. It's not banned, but they're going to work on construction for now. And with only 60 seconds left, that's going to leave them wanting in the later stages.
Same problem for Team Empire once again. Round 1, round 2, one-dimensional pushers coming in from only one direction. And NaVi, they're going to soak that pressure up all day long, because as soon as they realise that is the case, case. All guns will just point east. Simple as that. They will watch construction from the mirror window. They know that they're not going to be challenged from main stairs. They know the challenge isn't coming in from jacuzzi. So right now, we can just focus on that single door coming out of construction. It's a big funnel. This is the key position for Empire. As Dan gets in on the window, CCTV control allows him to do this. He's not going to be challenged here, and he finds himself two big openers, but Nath manages to shut him down with the big bad Alder, and that leaves us 20 seconds left to go. Secretly on the shot, he finds Joystick, and that levels things up 3-3, but the kills keep raining in, and Empire, they manage to just get themselves a toe of an advantage. Once again, Shepard onto Secretly. It's all down to Nath. He's got the clutch machine in hand. Can he do it? He takes big damage on the logistics door, and the diffuser is going down right now. Manages to secure a down, but that will be all he gets, as Always puts him down and finds the round for Team Empire.
I have a big question here, and I don't even know if possibly our observer, I believe it's Easy at the moment on the camera. Shout out to Easy, who's finally been back on the camera for us. How did Nath get into cash? How did he get in behind the attackers who had two flank drones and someone holding red stairs, Scyther on the Ash to begin with? I mean, I had no idea he was even behind them, let alone the fact that he could have done huge damage. Unfortunately, he couldn't reload his SMG-11 there, so he was stuck having to take those short-range shotgun engagements. But that was a round from Empire that was really kicked off by the fact that Dan hit two of the nuttiest headshots in quick succession that I've seen him hit in a long time. Remember, Dan's had a really, really bad season so far. It's been a rough one for him. I'm glad to see him redeeming himself when things look like they're stacked up against him.
Big opener for Dan, as you say, and a big confidence boost for him, no doubt. Other than the 1 week we've seen him struggling to get, I was going to say into double figures, but to be honest with you, a few weeks looking across the board, 2 kills against Kavana, only 3 kills against Rogue. It certainly has been a tough season for somebody that we would be expecting more from. He had one great performance against G2 on console. That was the week that he dropped 15 kills, but other than that, it's been rough. And so coming in and just getting, we've got a beautiful replay of it here as well, as you say.
Nice slow-mo.
Look at that, absolutely beautiful. The head glitch on the bomb, sit down, and then behind the mirror, I'll have a piece of that as well. Now, round 4, we're heading in. CCTV and Cash once again. NaVi successfully defended this back in round number 1. Team Empire falling foul of pushing all their resources, all eggs in one basket, Jess, and that basket was construction.
Oh no, Doki has a drone all ready to play with. That is a spicy one. You love to see it because it's not often that Mozzies are used to be able to collect drones and use them. Oftentimes it's just a bit of another version of a mute jammer, isn't it, Nate? So for me, the fact that he now has a drone to play with as well, that's scary because the attackers are always going to be worried. Is that a friendly drone? Is that an enemy drone? Do we have to check all of our backs, check up on the shelves or in the corner? He's placed it in the corner of Cash, and that's going to give a long line of sight as to whether or not anyone jumps in the window, jumps in towards construction door. Overall, I think NaVi can be pretty safely rest assured that Empire is going to do this one-dimensional push in bedroom because it's too difficult to deal with that platform mirror.
Doki having a quiet start so far.
Yes, get it.
They're looking to get that wall open. In comes the Selma charges. The Capitao asphyxiation bolt is going to prevent Blur going anywhere near there. So a little bit of an older strat being used there, Jess. We don't always see the flame arrows used to that effect too often, but they certainly do a great job of it. And that is going to be East Breach open. So already this is looking better for Team Empire than their round 1 attack. There's no two ways about that. They've got themselves a bit of an advantage. The mirror window does remain in place because the Selma devices,
you know why?
They don't clear it at the minute, but it's a change that may be coming in future. I think I saw it on the patch notes. We'll see how that one plays out, but right now we are in the game whereby it doesn't clear it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people have seen it on those test server changes. I have to stress it's only on the test server that they are practicing a lot of whether or not this is going to work, and that's your opportunity to jump on in there and give some really good feedback. So do it, because when it gets to these tier 1 games, that mirror window providing defenders a little bit of that line of sight might end up allowing Blur, for example, to net a kill. So these changes could be very, very important even at tier 1. This is the pinch push we wanted here from Empire. They won't get it thus far because Blur still has those bandit charges in pocket. In fact, he's still got 2 to play with, 1 on the wall, currently 1 in pocket. They have to use that last EMP to try and dispatch of it, and he's still got one left to play with. He'll throw out that C4. It's disabled one of those walls, and he's not going to commit to it because he knows it could mean his death. Instead, he'll go aggressive out towards Con. They're not ready for him, Ace. Hold your guns high, boys, because Blair will rip through you.
Blur doing Blur things as he finds the opener, and once again, a very late opener. We've seen rounds pushing way into the 2.5 minute point before we get that first kill. Difficult to see sometimes exactly how they're going to play out. I was wondering when Always was going to see the man. He does find the headshot and kills Rain in, but unfortunately for Empire, they're killing each other as well as everybody else. The diffuser is going down right now. Sider's looking for the cover, but it's Nath able to shut down Shepard's, wait for the perfect timing to close out the round. That is going to be based on time. The 3 minutes ticking away, and with that diffuser not planted, NaVi, all they had to do was find that one kill onto Shepard.
Well, Empire will have one round to their name, and I think considering this map statistically over this season, Ace has shown to be a pretty 50-50 map. That doesn't bode too well for Empire thus far. NaVi has had a pretty dominating season. You would expect them to be doing well in this matchup. I will say, however, and this is going to give a little bit of a silver lining to the Empire or the CIS fans out there, this is Empire's best map. They managed to get that map ban, that map veto into their hands today on their terms. They can really shake this up. I did want to bring up their statistics to see whether or not Team Empire, especially on Clubhouse, was an attacking-sided team more often than not or a defending-sided team. Unfortunately, they're more often than not an attacking-sided team. So if they don't level out this first half, then things do statistically look dire for them.
As you say, really struggling on the defensive side so far, particularly the best sites are no better than 50-50, Jess. So you look at Church and Arsenal, and they've played 7 rounds there. They've only won 2. And I think that tells the story, better than anything else that we've seen so far through the season. Empire really struggling to hold down what should be absolute bastions of sites. It should be that you're building your clubhouse around your Church and Arsenal defence and being successful there. They should be bankers, but they've been unable to secure them. Now we're going to Church and Arsenal this time around for NaVi. They won this back in round number 2. It all came down to a hatch drop from Empire. They were unable to secure Blue. They were unable to secure Dirt Tunnel, and it just came down to vertical angles and a one-dimensional push. Now we've seen the adaptation there in round 4 where they did attack CCTV slightly differently to the way they did in round 1, recognising that need for another option, another angle. So we'll see whether they do that here on Church and Arsenal. They are going to start with the top floor clearance to begin with. They know that NaVi are a side that will like to have players like Nath, like Dorky out there on the roam to cause a nuisance. They've been hit on the flank already, so they're going to make sure that they take care and clear out that top floor.
I mean, this is easy. If you're going up against Team Empire, you could even just bait a roam. Whether or not NaVi end up committing to this or not is not the important factor. They could get a few kills here, and Doki will be probably the first one to take those engagements as they open up the jacuzzi wall. What's more important for someone like, or rather a team like Team Empire, is that once they start opening the walls, they will commit to it. They don't just open it, okay, people have cleared away, let's run away. They will run through it. They will, use half of their drones to confirm that it actually is clear. They're a methodical, they're a clinical team. And if both Doki and Nath run down a site now, Team Empire won't be convinced unless they have put all of their drones through there. So for me so far, I'm convinced, and you'll see Always, he'll be droning out, making sure that no one is in freezer. They're very clinical here, Ace, and that's why it takes them so much time to get things done.
Interestingly, Blur on the vigil here, just keeping himself down inside of sight, using that ability to keep himself off the Empire drones at the minute, almost certainly just wanting to make sure they're not aware of where he is playing in and around underneath kitchen. He's got the impact nades. That's going to be his main function here, is to try and keep that kitchen hatch closed for as long as possible. And the pressure will start mounting in that area soon, but Nath still hasn't been cleared out here, Jess.
Oh no, sneaky little Nath. Blur will get knocked all the way down to about 24 HP. And I said before, him holding that SMG-11 on the roam was such an unorthodox operator and sort of a weaponry to be doing that with. But no one's really pushed him every time he's done it. It seems like Empire are just having so much emphasis towards this kitchen hatch. The problem with doing that is that you need to also have dirt control. They showed last time they pushed this, they didn't get dirt control. And now Dan is worried about Nath in the last 25 seconds of the round.
This is far too late from Dan to be pushing onto the Roma there. Nath able to escape and get himself down underneath the map. Shepard finds the first onto Blur. That's going to be the Vigil going by the wayside. Secretly and Nath, however, they come in big, and Shepard, he finds one as a trade, and the kills are raining in now. It's an absolute bloodbath as Shepard starts to get the diffuser down. It's all down to Nath. 1 versus 3. He can't find the angle to shut down the man planting, and ultimately gets found on the reverse by Shepard, who closes out another round for Team Empire, and they keep themselves fighting here. NaVi certainly have the advantage in terms of the scoreboard, but Empire knowing that they are not going to let them get too far in front.
Something very, very poignant that I need to point out there, Ace, that people might have missed there. And I don't oftentimes have the opportunity to point out the mistakes of NaVi because they've played such an incredible season. Saves, he was the person who could have made the big difference there. I'm not saying he should have caught them on that pixel as they dropped the hatch. No. He had a C4 in pocket. He was in the perfect position to lob it over third box and get a double kill, which would have included the diffuser, mind you. So I'm just saying, sometimes NaVi, they put a little bit too much emphasis on their weapons and not enough emphasis on that little pocket C4 that could really change around.
3 kills at the end of the day. You know, It's getting in there, and as you say, if you throw it over box 3, there's no way that you're being challenged from behind there. So It's just an opportunity of absolute freebies. Now, coming into round number 6, this will be the final defensive round for NaVi before we switch sides, and we will play up to 6 in the other direction. And if we're all tied after 12 rounds, then we will go into a best of 3 round overtime. But there is plenty of action to come before we get to that point. We're heading back downstairs to Church and Arsenal once again. Nath, he's setting himself up for the top floor roam again. Now, I'm interested to see this time around, Jess, whether Empire just put a bit more emphasis on clearing him out. It was very late last time, and he did get some kills on the flank.
I mean, that one drone going down just there, and it looks like it was Shepard's drone, and he was the one that is generally been droning in alongside Always. You know, they'll set their drones up initially to double check that things are clear. Losing that entire drone is huge. I know it doesn't seem that way, but it is. And the fact that they have struggled to commit or even get a clear happening on Nath, and there's been a couple other players, you know, Doki as well, dancing around them. I want to see them commit to it. It does look like that's what Scyther wants to do right now. He'll await a drone possibly from Always, and when they start making their ingress here, hopefully they get some picks, because I bet you when we finish this and you look at the opening kill times, they have been way down the track of the round, which is unusual for a team that is attempting roam clears.
Doki up there as well, supporting at that top floor. So Empire, they're going to have to, as you said previously, go in with the due diligence and make sure that they are clearing all of those corners out and try to force them back to site. Now, Doki, he's got himself down the main stairs. I'd like to see maybe, oh, that's an interesting nitro there. We can see Always gets down by it. Not one that you see used very often, Jess. Nath able to run out of that construction wall and just launch the nitro up towards the logistics hatch. Certainly one to take away from the game. Give it a try on your own. I will bet you get more than 1 or 2 kills with that one.
That is such a weird version or circumstances of events to be able to just run out of that wall opened up by Scyther, to be able to see for someone droning above the logistics hatch. I mean, that's such, it requires puzzle pieces all in the right position to be able to do that. I hope Nath looks back on this later and goes, hey, I did get the down on him, because, well, in pro player, your heads up display doesn't give you points, so he won't necessarily know. Nevertheless, it does look like yet again there is a reliance towards that kitchen hatch. Not a surprise, because clearly this is Empire's MO here, and, well, they've made it work once. Why not make it work again? That way they can be a little bit more rest assured that this is something that works. Challenging the impact trigger. Yes, Scythe is in the right spot to do it. Confirms the hatch gets open. And with 54 seconds to work with here, Ace, they're in pretty good time management, because I can't see any silhouettes that are currently trying to sort of challenge them on the roam.
Well, the thing for Empire is that they've been dropping and planting almost immediately. So, as you say, 45 seconds is plenty of time for them. Now, we've got one player from Empire just pushing down the main stairs. Doki might be in a position to challenge from Mortal if he steps through there once they're aware of Scyther's presence. But, as you say, NaVi have been forced back all into Church and Arsenal. Sorry, into Church, away from Arsenal here. And it could make it difficult for them to defend against the plant. But Saves, he's going to open things up with a kill onto Joystick. And we've got Doki here just waiting. It's a game of death as he waits for the man to move through from Motor Door. Kills rain in. Nathan Blur getting them for NaVi, and that leaves us 4 versus 2, but always manages to find saves. And once again, it's just one of these Church and Arsenal bloodbaths with kills raining in either direction, but ultimately Empire have left it too late. Time ticks by, the sand runs through the hourglass, and that is going to be NaVi taking round 6 and a 4-2 lead into the second half.
I have so many questions here because for NaVi, I like what they're doing. They are only slightly adapting the way that they're doing these roam strategies when they defend bottom floor. They go, okay, do we want to waste time? Do we want to commit to it? They don't really push us last time, so we need to be careful because they got the plant down from kitchen hatch. Okay, make sure we put a little bit more reliance on being able to hold that mid to late in the round. I like that they're just changing a few things here and there, but for Empire, finishing the first half on their best half, 2 rounds deficit is probably, it's not the worst case scenario. They could be, 6 rounds deficit right now, but it doesn't bode really well for them because when you look at NaVi, they have such good statistics on this map because they've just been dominating this season. So I don't think for Empire, unless they hold still and they hold steadfast in their crossfires against NaVi, that they're going to be able to pull too many rounds here. I could be wrong. I'd happily see an upset here, but they are definitely the underdogs in this matchup.
Heading into round number 7, then we're going to see the first defense coming out of Team Empire, which will be CCTV and Cash. It's a site that they've only won 50% of the time here in stage 1, playing 6 rounds and only winning 3. But one thing that they have done well is they've prevented the diffuser from going down too often. So Team Empire, I'm sure, are going to look to do that again. NaVi, they're going to need to get access nice and early. They don't want to be leaving it late to get that east wall open. They want to give themselves maximum time, and I'm sure we're going to see them very soon flood in towards Garage to try and clear this area out as well.
Both of the support players just lost the drone each, I believe. Maybe one of them was saves, I'm not entirely sure. But either way, every single support or flex support player just lost a drone in the droning phase. That is huge. That is a lot of intel, whether it's going to be mid or late round, or even just that early round that they are going to be lacking. And that is something that I think Dez even criticized NaVi from, especially in their later parts of last year, was that they were just lacking drones in the latter part of the round. You can't be doing that. You've got to be rest assured that you have the intel when you're pushing on in. And considering what we're seeing a lot of these drones come in, are they going to also do a big heavy reliance towards construction? Will it be a dual push? I know there's a bit of bandit tricking coming out from Shepard on the platform wall. This time, though, there'll be no mirror to assist him the way that NaVi does it. But hey, this is a very fast push from NaVi, and I don't think Empire were expecting this.
NaVi already down to 5 drones, as you say, so lack of information could cost them as the round continues. But now that they've got themselves established in logistics and bedroom, there's not too much that they need to be watching out for apart from a main stairs flank. But it doesn't look like Empire are going to be trying any of those sorts of tactics, but Scyther would be the one to watch out for, being that he's currently located in lower garage and could move himself over there. Nath sends a drone in and starts to feed back those defender locations inside of Cash Room. Now, this is going to be an attempt to open up the construction wall. Shepard is there with the bandit. He's looking to trick out this utility. Seems like he's been effective there. He's been able to get electrification back onto the wall, and there's going to be more utility raining in, more attempts to get that open.
Saves has been using his EMPs really intelligently as well. On top of the roof, it got both of those bandits. It did manage to get the electrical that had been thrown over from the rotate. Oh! Blur sees an opportunity and he capitalizes. And you said before, Blur does Blur things. Standing in the middle of sight, he's going to pull out one of those goo mines from his leg. Nath gets the plant down in quick succession. And whilst they do manage to put him out of his misery, finally, it will be Empire in a 1v3, always on the ground. No chance to possibly pick him up. It is going to have to be the clutch of Joystick season thus far in this 1v3. He'll get 1. He'll get 2. It's a quad. He'll have to get the ace clutch if he wants to bring this round back into the hands of Empires, but they won't. It'll be a NaVi round. And my goodness, I did not expect to see Blur running in on site and having just such an impact. And look how cool, calm, and collected he looks after such a big, big play.
Sometimes Route 1 can be the best thing, Jess. It just catches the defenders unaware, and that was exactly the situation there. They were not ready for that whatsoever. We had the Bandits still trying to trick the wall. It was an absolute freebie for Blur, who just moved in and really lit a fire under NaVi's round there. But it was a great fight from Empire towards the end. We've certainly seen them be one of the most clutching of teams, I would say, throughout stage one would be a way to describe it. They have locked down so many difficult situations at the end of rounds, and they nearly did it there.
I don't usually refer to the chat engagements from the players, but that actually is one that I do want to refer to, because a lot of people don't realize when you're in a very, very high stress situation, even tier 1 players will make little mistakes like that. Instead of calling it cash, he called it church. Now, they're both call-outs on this particular map, but he was under a lot of stress, and he was trying to make call-outs, very clearly, very quickly for his team. So obviously, they made a little bit of fun of Nath there, but I can understand why that happens. And for Empire now, very narrowly losing out on that round. I'm glad we get a bit of a replay here as well, because I think there was just a player who stuck their head up. Yes, wasn't even looking at Blur. Interestingly enough, Blur uses that as fuel and adds it to the fire, and that momentum just skyrockets him inside of cash. And I do want to say that Empire's utility usage in that past round was brilliant. The fact that they lost it was really sad for me, because I want to see that kind of utility play rewarded.
Great headshots from Blur as he moved into sight there, just locking both of them down. Just really knew where that second man was likely to be, and it just shows heads up thought. He knows that he's bandit tricking the wall. He knows he's going to be crouched down, and he goes in there just aiming at the perfect height. Now, NaVi, they are looking towards gym and bedroom side once again. They're starting their top floor clear, moving across the map. This is where we saw them have success from in the last round. They're going to look to get the clearance underway, make sure there's no roamers, and then they are, of course, pushing into Church and Arsenal. So it's going to be about getting control over bar and kitchen area, opening up the vertical angles. They have got Blur on the book, and that is what he will do. Try and get any cheap early picks that they can in towards site before moving in, probably with a late execute. It is usually in the last 20 to 30 seconds that we see that aggression come out of the attackers on this site.
Well, it looks like Blur is very comfortable taking the buck. I mean, if you're going to ban Sledge, then you've got to have some bit of redundancy for your team, and he looks like he's been practicing this one in scrims, knows exactly how to use the skeleton key and in which directions he wants to use it as well. And you can see he's putting a lot of reliance on the conservation of that skeleton key as well. So good to see that he's aware that it's not an infinite supply that you get, so you need to be very careful. Shepard will pick back up that electric claw he was attempting to trick onto the meeting hatch with, or the motor hatch rather, and he'll pop it on that triple wall, but saves. I've got to give it to him again. He's been having a really good showing on the Thatcher, and it's not an operator that you always get to play considering the ban rates.
Dan just playing in and underneath that hatch there, just applying the goo mines. He's there primarily to launch out those impact nades and try and keep that hatch in one piece, but also just using the utility of the Legion there to signal when the drop comes, but also, of course, importantly, if it's the planter who goes first, if Nath goes down there and gets one of those needles in his leg, he cannot plant the diffuser until he takes it out. So not only does it delay, but it just puts him in a really difficult situation where he could be picked up secretly. He's going to be doing the picking up with a headshot onto Always, and that leaves us 5 versus 3 now as Doki 5 versus 2 secretly onto Joystick, and this is all going in a landslide towards NaVi right now. Cyther is on seriously low health down in blue, and he's going to have a little bit less as secretly finds his third on the round. Nath drops the motor hatch to find the last, and that's going to be a flawless round for NaVi. And you look at that, secretly smiling, Doki bouncing. They are ready for this game, Jess. They are ready to catapult themselves into the top spot.
Well, for all of those who don't know, NaVi currently is sitting in second place, but that does not mean that with tomorrow's play day and whatever the results end up being for all of the teams, especially BDS today, that they couldn't take that top spot. And I think Hap put it best. I mean, although we won't necessarily have the major to look forward to, there's a very big difference in prize money between first, second, third, fourth, and even fifth, for example. So there is a difference in that, and there's a difference in SI points for the coming year, the next year SI. And that's what these teams we are trying to accumulate here. At the moment, BDS is pretty much gone undefeated for the most part, at least a definitive loss. They have got that overtime loss as well. But NaVi, they win today's game. They catapult themselves onto 20 points. BDS is currently on 19. But BDS will play later on today, and they will play the last game against Kavana, who a lot of people are expecting them, could be the dark horses here. So who knows, NaVi, they might be looking at the barrel of a first place here in stage 1.
Worth remembering, we've got the tweet battle going on for that game as well. So any tweets with hashtag BDS Power will be counted against tweets with hashtag GoWarner. So get yourself on Twitter and get involved in the conversation. A few of those tweets pop up every now and again. We were unfortunate enough to have one from Des earlier, but we promise they are normally better than that. That one slipped through quality control, Jess.
Oh no, look, we're not going to reference it too much. I'm a BDS fan myself, as I'm a big Rafale fan, so if you agree with me, pop that hashtag BDS Power. And also, in case you want to pop up on the broadcast right now, you can put hashtag R6EUL as well. So just saying, get involved.
Plenty of ways to get involved and to be a part of the broadcast, but right now we need to focus back on the match at hand. Round number 9 we find ourselves in. NaVi with a commanding lead here, which is to be expected given the performances that we've seen out of both teams now. Always finds a kill elsewhere in the map, but what a beauty from Saves we've just seen there to trade him out as he got one from the oil pit but couldn't follow it up, as Saves just using those stairs for leverage to get up against his man and find the headshot. Great opener from Empire, but completely shut down very quickly by NaVi.
How much of a pick for pick is that? Well, I would say it's a pretty even pick for pick. People will argue always would have had a C4. He would have the capacity to be able to rotate back and play late game. Blur, he was only the bucket. I mean, on this side, there's not a lot of soft breach unless you go down in stock and want to be able to aggress on people playing inside of cash. So I actually think it's a pretty even pick. I will say, though, there are a lot of the attacking players outside on platform right now, and it'd be Scyther's job to hope and pray that they don't just run on in, and that's what it looks like they want to do here, Ace. I'm not going to lie, they're pushing in really aggressively, really fast, and Scyther finally is able to catch Nath out as he over peaks. Gets that shoulder peek happening. He's on about 5 HP and he knows it as well, trying to expel those impact grenades to be able to get some impact. But look how many of those lesion mines are on those red stairs. He knows he has to get out of here. He's running into about 100 drones, and well, Empire, remember, the site is gym and bedroom, so right now there's a lot of damage being done on the other side of the map, and most of it's being done to NaVi.
Great job from Scyther there, just able to really maximise those 95 HP that he's lost in taking players with him, but also then just dipping away, having wasted 2 minutes and living to fight another day. We've got Secret Lane moving into CCTV now. That is in the full control of NaVi, and they can start thinking about moving towards site, but there is not much time left. They're just getting themselves into cash. They need to move through construction yet, and they need to secure the angles required to start thinking about getting the diffuser down, which is almost certainly going to be a requirement here, given that we've only got 25 seconds left, and the clock is going to be NaVi's biggest enemy right now. Team Empire, they are just looking to hold on. Scyther, he's got himself on the blue stairs and could be in a position for a late flank, and NaVi, they might just rue the day that they didn't chase him down and finalise that kill. He starts moving now, heading up those stairs. As the kills rain in, he needs to be quick. Dorkian secretly find 2 versus 2. Saves needs to think about the diffuser here. Surely it's too little too late, as Scyther and Joystick are in a 2 versus 1, and that is it. Saves has to dip off the diffuser or lose his life. Those are his choices. Round to Empire, and interesting to see Scyther come back in on that flank with NaVi not shutting the Legion down on red stairs.
They had really good pre-placed drones as well. I have to give it to NaVi, is that the moment that he rotated off red, there was another drone in secret. It spotted him out. Someone tried to shoot from the secret window, the storage window, whatever you want to call it. And I mean, he was in a really bad position no matter where he went, but he managed to keep the confidence and his wits about him and traverse the map like it was his playground. That's what you need to do. If you're Empire right now, don't question yourself. Have that confidence behind you. Really start manipulating the map, because it seems seems like NaVi, once they lose track of where a player is, they seem to spot him on drones as they're running around the map, but they don't seem to be able to deal with them. And I think that's what will give Empire the opportunity now. They've got to win the next 3 rounds in a row to catapult them into overtime. NaVi, they've got 3 rounds of a buffer here on match point, and they're going up against one of the easiest sites statistically in all of Clubhouse to attack.
Moving into round number 10, then we're going to be heading back to CCTV and Cash. And interesting, we've got a little operator rotation on the side of Empire, which isn't too unusual for the defenders, but Cider, having done a great job on the Legion on Red Stairs last time around, he moves himself onto the Jaeger, where Dan now picks up that Legion instead, and he's going to be playing it. He's seen him popping a goo mine or 2 on that side of the map. He's going to be underneath for the time being. Has the potential. Sometimes we see the hatch get opened up, and that's exactly what's just happened, I think, there. So the hatch that Medics is so wonderfully going to point out for us, just leading through to the bar area, and you can clear off hard breach utility on that wall. And I've just realised, having said that Medics has done that, Easy is... Who have we got observing, Jess? It's so difficult to tell between the two now. They're both as good as each other.
Should be... I do oftentimes get confused because they're very similar in their style, but it is Easy on the camera today. Yes, I can confirm.
He's just said hello to us, and I keep forgetting that he's managed to get himself out there. Obviously, we just had Medics for the first few weeks, but Easy doing a fantastic job now that he's involved and alongside his counterpart. So good that it's difficult to determine between the two of them. Sometimes people may wonder at home why we sort of saying that, because an observer's an observer, but it's certainly not. When you work with them as much as we do, you can quite often tell the difference between styles or between the way that things are done. But no, these two doing fantastic work to keep consistency and to keep excellent quality as well. So thanks to those guys. But back to the game at hand, round 10. We've got NaVi now taking great control over Gym Bedroom. They're moving into construction. Everything's going well for them so far.
No.
Going very well. Very well indeed, as Doki finds a headshot onto Joystick, and that gives NaVi a great early advantage. Once again, Jess, how many times are Empire going to fall foul of aggression through construction door?
What made that even worse was that we could see what was coming as the viewers, as the casters, the spectators. They could see everything that was happening because, well, we could see the silhouettes. Doki couldn't. He just had to take the opportunity to hear the shield being deployed, and who at halfway through the round deploys a shield in direct line of sight of exactly where a player's pushing. I don't know what the thought process was there for Joystick. He didn't necessarily have the best start to the game, but he had that 4 quad kill come out. And I thought things were going to be looking up for him. For the most part now, Shepard, he's the one that is hoping he can hold on to this wall and platform. Does he have another one to go with? Yes, he picks the right wall as well. He'll get gifted. There's only one exothermic left to play with and one EMP. They've only got one more shot at this wall. Saves could be the difference maker here by jumping on in and making a difference, because secretly, look at his positioning. He wants this wall, and with 35 seconds left, last round, NaVi's big pain, big thorn in the side was them being unable to, work on that time management. They can't fall victim to it here on this round as well.
Saves has just let Shepard off a little bit there. He had him sort of locked down as he held down that angle from window. Because Shepard was playing up against the wall so late in the round, he wouldn't have been able to rotate away, but that is now allowed as Saves moves away from that angle, and the kills rain in for Empire here as they hold fast. 1 each, always side of Shepard, as 3 come in quick succession and leaves Nath in a 1 versus 3 with 5 seconds left to go. This is almost certainly an Empire round. There will be no opportunity to get the diffuser down. The kills are no more than stat padding here as Nath manages to find 1, but the clock ticks away and Empire get themselves a second successful defense, and that is the first time in this matchup that they have been able to secure back-to-back rounds.
Well, that might bode really well for them here, because Empire now is slowly, bit by bit, shortening that buffer room that NaVi has between match point and taking the full 3 points to Team Empire being able to narrowly teeth and claw their way back into overtime. And considering after Trainhard's performance today, if you didn't catch that match, make sure you go back. Vitality unfortunately losing to Trainhard, who we all said would be the underdogs going into that matchup. They weren't today. They were successful. That's put Team Empire on the bottom of the board. And you guys are probably sitting there going, don't worry, they'll redeem themselves in future stages. Well, they need to, because unfortunately, if you continue this kind of performance, at least on the standings, into future stages, you'll be looking down the barrel of relegations in stage 3, and no team wants that.
as you say, you've got to be very careful. You know, we pick up on these things now and they're forgotten by the time we get to the point where they really make a difference, and that is the end of stage 3. And you can look back to stage 1 and there will be results that you pick up on. Hap touched on it earlier, saying, you know, the difference in SI points between 4th and 5th place. We keep talking about this top 4, and obviously prize money is a big factor there, but the SI points as well, the difference between 4th and 5th is 50 points. Okay, it's 50 points, but I tell you now, when one of those teams finishes 40 points short of qualification, Jess, that 50 will look a lot more important. That difference, that 1 point that they missed out on the top 4 by, is going to look considerably more important.
Looks like Empire wants to do a bit of a NaVi-esque roam here with the mute jammers in hand as well. They'll reinforce off that wall, and that will require them to use one of their EMPs on it. Will saves do it? Very likely, because otherwise they will not have that line of sight they need to be able to cut the rotate of any of the roamers. Now, if we could get a full zoom out of the top floor here from Easy, I know he's listening to us, but if you go to the top floor for us and zoom all the way out, guess what? There's not a single defender on the top floor. This is a bait and switch if I've ever seen one. This will waste the time here of NaVi. It will waste some of their utility. And I think that's what Empire are trying to put out here.
And it's a great play. If it works, you get a minute for free. Simple as that. There is absolutely no risk to Team Empire here. Blur moves in. He's back on his drone. We can see we're already down to 2 minutes. There's a lot of work to be done when attacking Church and Arsenal. They're going to want to get mid-floor control, which Doki is now looking to establish. But after all this is said and done, they need to, as a minimum, open at least 1 or 2 hatches. They need to be considering, are we getting down into blue? Do we need blue control? Do we need to be down at bottom of main stairs, opening church wall? There are 5 or 6 essential tasks that need to be completed in the small amount of time that is left to them.
Well, I'm getting a bit of deja vu watching Blur rip apart this kitchen hallway floor. He does it so methodically each and every time, so it's very clear he knows those line of sights that he and his team needs. But I am looking over towards Empire because I believe there's a player deep armory desperately trying to challenge any of these vertical angles. Possibly always. Does he have a C4 in hand? Yes, he does. So he could do some major damage if he wanted to. My question is now, considering where Nath is, considering he has the diffuser in hand, and considering they only have 60 seconds left to play with here and the kitchen hatch is still closed, are they changing their mind as to where the push is going to happen? NaVi look to be a team that want to try and put a lot of emphasis over towards kitchen. But considering they've opened up the moto hatch now, have they changed their minds here, Ace?
NaVi's nerves are going to be left in tatters if they keep leaving things late in the round. Sider is coming under pressure inside of the blue corridor, but we're down to 35 seconds now, and last we saw, the kitchen hatch wasn't open and NaVi didn't have any direct line of ingress in towards the site, secretly looking to push down and support this push into blue corridor. He's going to get a freebie, surely. He gets pushed back by the Jaeger there. Somehow Sider just able to keep himself fighting, ultimately shut down by Nath, but not before always finds the opener onto Blur. Bit of an entry battle going on between those two, and then peekaboo, Joystick steps out and finds one onto Nath, and it all goes Empire's way. 1 versus 4, it saves this time, shut down by Dan, and Empire, they are fighting hard here. They strike back and find themselves 5-6 on the scoreboard and taking us all the way to 12 and possibly beyond.
I think you said it perfectly there, Ace. The Empire strikes back. That's the storyline we're here to tell now because it looked super dire. Once we hit that match point for NaVi, I thought to myself, gosh, how are they going to put all of these rounds in a row on the board, considering we've seen Team Empire falter time and time again, and now they're going up against the big boys of NaVi. It's finally time for one team to call that tactical timeout, and I believe it's going to be NaVi, because you want these 3 full points to skyrocket you into the first place. You don't want them, you need them, Ace, and if you're going to put them on the board, you got to stop Team Empire's momentum right now, otherwise it's all gone.
Well, this is it. You know, if NaVi don't take the full 3 here, you have to look at what pressure are they really applying to BDS then. They tie them up on points, but BDS have got a game in hand. So all that BDS need to do at that point is outscore NaVi across 2 games when they only have 1 remaining. And it starts to look a little bit easier for them. But I think psychologically, if NaVi secure the 3, put themselves 1 point clear at the top, that does start to just add a little pressure to BDS's performances, and we might see the mistakes start to creep in. But looking at the game we've got here, there's been mistakes creeping in for NaVi. I think we have to say that they just haven't seemed to have the same teeth in the attacks that they have previously. Empire have been getting good flurries of kills and just playing their game patiently, really.
Yeah, and I do have to give quite a lot of credit there to Empire. I mean, we did say they're an attacking-sided team on this map. For them to turn around to be putting these defensive rounds, round after round on the board, that's impressive. Because statistics will tell us on a map that they really, really prefer that they are not a defensive-sided team by any means. So good on them. They've obviously changed something. They've obviously worked out what is going to work against NaVi here. One more round, Ace, and we hit OT, and things start to look very, very different, not for just the top of the table of the standings, but also for the bottom.
Heading back to gym and bedroom for round 12 then. This will be the final showdown in regulation time. If Team Empire are able to lock down this site as they did previously back in round 9, then it will all come down to overtime. It will be a best of 3, and we will also see the points limited. The winner will take 2 points instead of 3, but in a little Brucey bonus for the loser, they will pick up an extra point. They will get 1 for losing in overtime, but I'm sure that NaVi will not want it to come to that. They don't want restrictions and limitations. They want to be taking the maximum from this game that they possibly can.
Well, that's exactly why that tactical timeout was called. Anything to stall the momentum of Team Empire, who is now clawing their way back to this overtime. Gym and bedroom is a site that I am really interested in, because as the sort of popularity of CCTV has fallen, sites like, gym and bedroom have raised considerably. I'm looking over towards the defensive sidedness. Other than Church and Arsenal, it bodes one of the highest defensive rates. So not a surprise that a lot of teams are looking to go here, especially on their defensive side. Shepard will rock the Yokai, the Echo this time instead. Will that be the difference maker? Because quite possibly they want to let NaVi in, make them feel, give them a little bit of a false sense of security, and then boom, some concussion bursts come out, and all of a sudden that late kind of execution we've been seeing from NaVi gets halted even further.
Almost the Hansel and Gretel-esque approach. Come on in, it's nice and warm, we have sweets. But then just shutting them down as they do. Now, Dorke just moving through underneath there and looking to get himself an angle onto the Yokai. I think he took that one out. He's just looking to pressure into Bar. What a reverse angle! He finds onto Dan! That is absolutely disgusting. And Dan giving that every ounce of respect that it deserves. Hitting the nice shot there, because that was something else from Dorke. And he's been quiet so far today. We haven't had many opportunities to shout his name, and NaVi right now, they need their talisman to step forward. They need him to take the hold of this one by the scruff of the neck and come through and really deliver, and that is a great start.
Sheesh, that's all I can say about that one, Ace, because that was unbelievable. The man of the hour, the highest rated player behind Blur. Now it's going to be a beautiful one. Hello? Speaking of the man, Blur himself, he's going to find one of the most impossible angles. How he knew to go below and open that one up, because it has been a common sitting defensive position of a lot of these defenders so far. He'll get his position noticed by that goo mine, but for the most part now, time is on the hands of NaVi. That's going to be a problem here for Empire. They've lost 2 members, 5v3. This was their opportunity to scratch some points together last round of the regulation, as you said before. Unless we see some multi-kills here from Empire or some good delay. No Yokai's left, Plant going down, kills left, right, and center. It's all up to Joystick. He had a clutch position before. He's in one now, and it's all done and dusted, Ace. That will be a very, very sour taste in the mouth of the Empire players and fans, because that was almost points in their hands. They'll go without. NaVi will walk away with the full 3, and that will just for now put them ahead of BDS on the standings.
Oh, it really will be tough for Empire to take. What a late run they made of it, but we've got to come back to it, Jess. I've got to pick up on it. The timing of the tactical timeout for NaVi.
Yes.
It certainly seemed to do everything that they needed. They came in with a renewed vigour. Dorke and Blur just stepping up the